Slurpty-derp, my G's, how are you guys doing? Today I'm going to show you how to create an easy dark brass sound in Vital, which is great for cinematic stuff as well as electronic music. I've heard this sound used in drum and bass tracks, and I've heard it used in sci-fi soundtracks and horror movies as well. All kinds of things. Really easy to make. Sounds great. Sounds like this. Alright, so let's break it down because it's pretty easy. I do use a lot of effects because I try to enhance the sound through them, but the main part of the sound will start off with the oscillators that I've used and yeah, also a bit of FM. Wonderful. Right, so we start off with a saw wave at -12, and I've actually drawn an envelope here to mimic the sort of, yeah, the amplitude of a brass instrument, like a tuba or something. So the attack, 0.077 seconds. Then the decay, 0.6 seconds approximately. And the sustain around 0.68, and then the release around 0.42. So yeah, a bit of a smooth attack. Then the decay is fairly fast, that it goes down to a lower volume for the sustain, and then a nice natural release. Alright, so now I'm going to unison the saw wave. So just 3 voices at 8%, so quite a slow detuning, not too crazy, nice and slow. Alright, then I'm going to add in a triangle underneath. Well, it's actually on the same octave and the same notes, but a triangle wave. A bit of extra padding. I've slightly detuned these guys a tiny bit as well in the fine tuning. Then a sine wave underneath it all. This triangle is a little bit lower in volume than the main saw wave, and also the sine wave underneath everything is a little bit lower as well. It's a bit of bass underneath. Alright, next we're going to add on a low pass filter onto everything. Alright, and I have got a little, only one LFO to do a little bit of subtle movement. And this is tracked to slow. It's actually tracked to the pitch. So over here in the advanced tab on the transpose, I've put the LFO onto the transpose, entered the value of 1, so it goes up 1 semitone, but the LFO doesn't actually go all the way to the top, so it doesn't actually reach 1 semitone. It's a little bit under halfway, so it's almost it almost goes halfway to the next semitone up when it gets to the top. So it kind of pitches up a little bit and back down a bit, just so there's some subtle pitch movement in the patch. And the other thing it's tracked to is the filter cutoff here. So the filter, the low pass filter, it has 2 modulations. One opens it up nice and quickly in line with the amplitude. So I've just used the amplitude envelope here on a lot of parameters. So I've just dragged the envelope 1, which is responsible for the amplitude, to also modulate some other stuff at the same time. So the filter cutoff opening, as you see here. But yeah, this other LFO here is basically, what this one's doing is just slightly opening the filter up over time as well. But yeah, that's a very subtle one. Yeah? Okay, but that's the main part of the voicing section done. Oh, one more thing. I also put an FM on here, so the saw wave gets FM'd from the low sine wave. So that's quite integral to giving it a darker sound. You can get away with not using that and have a cleaner brass sound, but for me, that's how to get a darker brass sound, is to use some FM, so the sine wave going into the saw wave, and I've put a bit of movement on that as well from the amplitude envelope. Alright, so now it really comes to life with reverb and distortion. So I put those on first. Quite high reverb and distortion fairly high as well. Around 9 or 10 dB on the sine fold mode. And the reverb is basically, it's mixed in at 44%. So basically I actually put a bit of movement on the mix as well. It's mixed to the left, so basically at the start of the stab it's slightly drier and it backs off and becomes a bit wetter as the note's held down. And same for the drive, actually backs off a little bit for the stab. So because the stab is already quite aggressive, so I actually used a little bit less distortion there to control the dynamic of it. And then it comes back, so the distortion increases as the note's held down. So it's kind of the other way around that you might expect, but it was a controlled decision to do the distortion a little bit less on the impact. So it felt more, tamed, like it didn't want to over distort the first part either.
Alright my G, so you're very lucky because I'm now talking to you from the future. So once again my OBS failed me and I realised as I was rewatching the YouTube upload that the screen share cut out again. So I'm re-recording this second part of the video one more time. Alright, so in between the reverb and the distortion, you basically have some chorus as well, okay? And this is only mixed in around 17%. But important nonetheless to get a bit of extra stereo width and a bit of warmth in the sound. And yeah, after that, I used the compressor, and this is I'm using as basically in the sense that I always use the Vital compressor, which is not actually as a compressor, it's as almost a parallel distortion. And this time I've actually modulated the mix to come from 0 and go upwards. So you get actually more of an impact at the start of the stab. So it's going the other way to how I played the distortion, where I actually used a bit less of the drive at the beginning of the hit. Here, this time around, on this sort of parallel, this secondary distortion almost, this saturation that the compressor provides, I've done it the other way. And the simple fact for that is that you never really know which way you want to mix the effects, so you want to always test it both ways, you know. In this case, it sounded like a clean way to add a dynamic punch to the start of the brass stab, but when I did it with the distortion above, it kind of made it too distorted, you know. But this time it worked fine to exaggerate that nice dynamic at the start of the stab, you know. So anyway, that's the compressor. Then I've done a bit of filtering to shape the brass sound a bit more. And this is quite nice. When I leave the mix up high, it does have a really nice sound. But I didn't want to use it the whole way. But basically, it's a phaser positive filter. It's got a little bit of movement on the cutoff, starting at 95% and then going up, 16.25 here. Again, tracked to my main envelope. So following that main brass movement. But like I mentioned, I didn't mix it in all the way, just 24%. All right, next up, EQ. Just a little high shelf boost for everything. Nothing too crazy, but the high end, around 2000 hertz and above, a little bit of a high shelf boost. And then a little bit of flanging. 22%. What the flanger does really nicely just moves around the harmonics and gives a nice bit of natural variation to the sound. And the center is a bit lower here, so I bring the center down to 60 hertz. So the flanging happens a bit lower down in the spectrum, and it just has a nice sound when I do that. Finally, a cheeky bit of a delay, nice delay tail on the sound. Mixed in only to 8% though. But nice natural ping pong delay, and the left channel is 1/8, just standard, and the right is 1/8 triplets, okay? So slightly different timing on the left and the right to give a nice little natural finish to the sound. And that is basically the end of this tutorial then now, finally. The Brass of Darkness. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below if you like this one. I think it's a great one, really versatile for movie soundtracks, horror stuff, drum and bass, all kinds of things. But yeah, that's the Brass of Darkness done. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Yeah, thanks again for watching my videos. We're doing our next live stream soon for the Patreon supporters in Discord. We'll be doing a drum and bass feedback live stream, so it'll be a lot of fun. That'll be on the 19th of March, so coming up in just over a week. If you guys want to participate in it, you can head over to my Patreon and join the Discord Fireteam tier. And in there, you'll get access to the Discord and you can submit your track in there if you want to join us. Also, if you want to learn more about Vital and synthesis and other stuff like that, hit me up for one-on-one production lessons. Links for that are down below. And if you want some cheeky Vital presets or phase plant or current presets, head over to my website and there's loads available on there. Finally, any mixing and mastering work you might want done, send me an email to info@artifactmusic.com to arrange that. And if you want me to DJ in a town near you, you can also email me for that. All right, that's it from me today. Thank you very much for watching. More from me very soon. Much love.